tariffs. The president set to raise tariffs on China as Beijing backpedals in talks. The president and his chief trade negotiator, Robert Lighthizer, saying that every deal, every commitment that China made, they have reneged on. Because, that's what they do. That's what they've been doing for 50 years. And finally, we have a president who is absolutely committed to stand up to them. These higher tariffs are going to take effect on Friday, as the president is not going to back down, and tensions with China ratchet up. Now, yesterday at the end of our show, if you were listening, I exposed the Wall Street Journal as the propagandist paper for Goldman Sachs and Lower Manhattan and the banksters that they are, because they immediately had this huge article out saying that the Dow was tanking. It rallied in the afternoon, no impact. No impact at the end of the day. The Wall Street Journal in the tank for Wall Street and Goldman Sachs. All they want is cheap labor. And I'm a one-man gang in exposing the entire cabal. Robert Lighthizer, the trade representative, said a lot of specific commitments it had made in the year-long trade talks were not being adhered to by the Chinese, and so we have walked away from the table. And that's what the president does. He just walks away. He says, this is Lighthizer. He says, the bottom line is we felt we were on track to get somewhere over the course of the last week or so. We have seen an erosion of commitments by China. An erosion of commitments. You want me to interpret that? Lies. Because that's what they do. They lie. They cheat and they steal. And no one has stood up to them in 50 years. Except for President Trump. Now, the president said that he's going to impose a 25% tariff on essentially all Chinese goods. On Friday, a 10% tariff on roughly, this Friday, $200 billion worth of Chinese goods will ratchet up to 25%. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, not a moment too soon. Hang on a second. I got to fix something. Okay, I did that. Not a moment too soon. A 25% tariff on all the rest of what the U.S. imports from China, about 325 billion products, would also be slapped with tariffs after a rulemaking and comment period, which typically takes 7 months. Now, a lot of people view this, a lot of people view this as a problem. A lot of people, the cheap labor, buy Chinese cheap goods at all costs bunch, are terrified by this. You know why they're terrified? Let me tell you why they're afraid of it. They're not afraid of it because of what it might do to the economy or some farmer in Iowa selling a soybean to Beijing. You know why they're scared to death of this, ladies and gentlemen? You want the truth? Because that's why you tune me in, right? To tell you the truth. You know why they're petrified of this? Because it's going to work. Because it's going to be effective. Because it is going to bring U.S. jobs back. Because it will have zero impact on our economic growth in a negative way. It will have a positive impact. And the whole cabal, the whole cheap labor, bonus baby, bonfire of the vanities, Wall Street bunch are all going to be exposed for the money-grubbing paper pushers they are. They're going to be exposed. They've been preaching to us for years this cruise bot orthodoxy. That somehow, if you have tariffs and not free trade, the world as we know it comes to an end and you will fall into a black hole. the abyss. So far, it's not happened. So far, our jobs are coming back. So far, wages are rising. So far, our economic GDP has been over 3%. So far, we've had record growth through the tariffs. So far, we have a boom in jobs, a boom in manufacturing. We can produce our own goods. Yes, I'm sorry. Wall Street, your firms will have to pay a decent wage. Sorry. This is why they're petrified. Not because of any economic calamity on the horizon, not because of any dip in the stock market and people's 401ks getting wiped out, which is all the stories you're going to hear coming out of the Wall Street Journal and Fox Business News. It's all coming. It's all lies. This country was built on a series of tariffs in the 1800s. That's how we became an industrial power. Not by letting the English dominate all of the industries and dump their goods in to the U.S. and keep us an agrarian society. If anybody can study history for 5 minutes, they get this. Oh, well, you can't close the door on 7 billion people. Well, we're not. But we're not going to get screwed either. And I love this move. The Chinese economy is sputtering along. You know what? I don't care what they say. They say they have 6% growth. They're liars. This is the Communist Party. This is the propaganda machine. There's enough people there telling me their economy is at about 1%. They need us. We don't need them. And the president is exposing the entire, talk about the Russian hoax. This is the Chinese hoax. This is the China trade hoax. Oh my God, if we can't get cheap goods and cheap labor from China, you will not be able to buy toilet paper. It's unbelievable. Now, despite the promise to increase tariffs by the end of the week, the U.S. is not breaking off talks. Simply saying, we got a Friday deadline. Put up or shut up, China. And by the way, stop lying to us. And a delegation of Chinese officials led by Vice Premier Li He is expected to travel to Washington this week. Meantime, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and administrating officials like Lighthizer and Navarro are completely unified on the decision to back the talks with more tariffs. If they weren't, they should get fired or they should quit, because this is the president's policy. And these people are there to serve the America First President Trump agenda, not their own. Like Gary Cohn. Good riddance. Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. Here's what Mnuchin said. We are not willing to go back on documents that have been negotiated and in our minds agreed to, he said in a briefing. Neither Mnuchin or Lighthizer specified which commitments China had backtracked on. Well, you find this surprising? They've never adhered to a single commitment or deal in the history of the Communist Party of China. And the stupid American politicians go with it. Except, of course, Joe Biden says there's no threat. Now, here we go. According to the cheap labor, big donor, Goldman Sachs apologist, they're saying in the Wall Street Journal today, which is going to be sounding the cheap labor alarm bells, such a major increase in tariffs is likely to harm U.S. companies that import cheap goods with cheap labor, my words, as well as American consumers. Yes, you might have to pay more for your iPhone chip or whatever it is you're going to have to pay more for. If you're buying a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon, it could be up to 15 cents more, half a penny a can. Oh my God, that 15 cents will put you in the poorhouse, according to the Goldman Sachs cabal. The 10% tariff has been largely absorbed by Chinese producers. Oh, really? I guess they have to subsidize more. See, because what the Chinese comms do, look, we're dealing with a communist government. What they do is they subsidize production. So it's not even fair. Like the government just subsidizes the cost of production. So the government has to subsidize another 10%, which hurts their economy. The hell do I care? The 10% tariff had been absorbed by Chinese producers, which means it's been absorbed by the government because it's a command communist economy. But many companies have said that a 25% penalty would be impossible to swallow, and the additional tariff costs will mostly be passed to consumers. No, they won't. We'll start manufacturing our own stuff here. I mean, where's this static model of economic indifference? Where is this? I don't see it. So let's see. If we do a 25% tariff on cheaply made, cheaply produced, subsidized Chinese crap goods, that all of a sudden that 25% is just passed on to me and you and Kara and all your friends and family. No matter what the product is, it's just passed on. Even though the other 10% got absorbed by additional subsidies by the Chinese government. No, what happens is you don't buy the products anymore because they're too expensive. So guess what? Guess what happens? You spur American enterprise ingenuity and competitive spirit. And so American companies start popping up that can now produce the same things better, but not with a 25% increase. Now they're on a level playing field. What do the Chinese produce that we can't produce here? Somebody text me one thing. One thing that they have that we need that we are incapable of producing. You know what the answer is? You don't have one. So this idea that the economy stays in some kind of a static hole, that everything is the same and we're not dynamic, whatever it is that the 25, let's take LED lights. Chinese dump LED lights in the port of Los Angeles, putting LED light companies at risk because manufacturers, builders, construction houses, building maintenance people, they need LED lights to replace fluorescent lights, but here's what they do. It's very simple. They buy from the Chinese company because it's cheaper. It's just a light. They don't care. They're in business to make money. So their buyers buy the Chinese product. It's inferior, but it's cheaper. Well, now, with a 25% tariff, companies who produce LED lighting, who are going out of business because the Chinese are undercutting them, now ramp up production. And yes, you might pay more, but you're going to put people at work who will put more money back in the economy. And yes, maybe your rent on your condo with the new LED lighting is going to go up $110 a month. I mean, give me a break. All this does is spur new American enterprise and competition and new companies and small businesses and investment and manufacturing. So I want the tariffs. But see, they're going to scare you. You will pay more. If we do these tariffs, you will die. Oh, just like James Carville said about the Clinton Foundation. Remember? He said, if you close the Clinton Foundation, people will die. Well, the money dried up. There's no pay to pay. The Clinton Foundation is closed and nobody died. Same thing. Oh, but the Wall Street Journal and the other cabalers, they're going to tell you that goods ranging from back-to-school clothing to car parts could quickly become more expensive. Oh, no. That oil filter which I got at Auto Trader or Auto whatever it is, Zone, for $9.95, now is going to be $10.06. Oh my God. It is economic Armageddon for my oil filter business. Guess what? They'll simply make more oil filters in America. Oh, your prices of shoes are going up. Oh my God. Now that you can't buy cheaply made Chinese shoes, you're going to have to buy shoes from an American manufacturer. Oh, we don't have enough. Oh, well, they'll pop up and they'll hire people. Oh, but then we have to pay people a decent wage. We can't have that. What happens to our bonuses? Unbelievable. This is just, it is such, the propaganda machine that comes out of Wall Street. You talk about this president being the great disruptor of all time. This is beyond disrupting. This is exposing. This president has exposed some of the biggest propaganda myths in the history of America. Whether it's the Russian hoax, the Chinese hoax, the Wall Street hoax. I'm telling you, what I did yesterday from 9:30 to 10 o'clock, and go to my YouTube page if you missed it. Go to John Fredericks Radio Show, my YouTube page, go to videos. When I exposed yesterday the Wall Street Journal's article at 9:30 to 10 that came out 10 minutes after the Wall Street bell rang, it was already pre-written. It was already gloom and doom. It was already the end of the world. It was already everything is down. It was already economic calamity. Your 401k is gone. You're wiped out. You're on the street. Your kids can't go to college. They did it all Sunday night to scare you. And at the end of the day, the stocks rallied and there was no change. That is called a propaganda machine. Do you get what goes on here? Now, the Wall Street Journal has been relatively gone unscathed as part of the fake news bunch. They're just as bad. They are signed, sealed, delivered, bought, sold, and paid for by the Goldman Sachs cheap labor bunch. And I exposed them yesterday in 20 minutes. That's why you tuned me in. Nobody else is going to tell you this but me. They're liars. That article was a propaganda hit to scare people and create an uproar. And by 4 o'clock, when the bell rang to end the day, the stocks had rallied back and there was virtually no change. Epic fail, Wall Street lying journal. Another part of the fake news bunch. The only difference with the Journal is that's all about money, them making it, and protecting their cronies in Lower Manhattan. These people don't care if you live or die. They don't care about you. They don't care about your job, your pay raise. You know what they care about? Their quarterly bonus. And you know what? It's like Washington, D.C. The whole bunch of them in Wall Street and Washington don't produce a damn thing. They don't make anything. They don't grow anything. They don't produce anything. They don't manufacture anything. You can't eat it. You can't drive it. You can't do crap with it. You can't live in it. They push paper around and with the bureaucrats in Washington. And they live off your back. John Fredericks Radio Network. I'll be right back.